This week, on our spooky Halloween edition of the Rambler Sports Locker, the men's soccer team met with Missouri State in a battle for the top spot in the conference. Alfredo Rodriguez shares his top 5 October athletes, and the Ramble analysts discuss the World Series. Welcome back, Rambler fans, to our Halloween episode of the Rambler Sports Locker. I'm Aaron Onion, dressed in the most Halloween attire my college budget would allow for.
And I'm Blake Keller. I'm dressed as an aspiring news anchor. I have a little bit of Halloween flair to it. But the city has been bustling since the Cubs defeated the Los Angeles Dodgers to head to the World Series. We're going to head over to RSL reporter Madeline Kenney, who was by Wrigleyville earlier today for a preview of what is to come for Game 3. Madeline?
I'm outside Wrigley Field and it is calm before the storm that awaits the highly anticipated Game 3 of the World Series, the first World Series game to be played in Wrigley Field since 1945. Last night, the Cubs flipped the script on the Indians, evening out the series at 1 apiece. Cubs ace pitcher Jake Arrieta threw a no-hitter through 5 innings and had 6 strikeouts, but the real story of the night was Kyle Schwarber. Schwarber is one of the most effective postseason hitters for the Cubs. He has 5 home runs in the postseason and 10 RBIs, and last night he added to that with 2 RBI singles. Now, as of right now, Schwarber is not fielding due to a knee injury he suffered at the beginning of the season. Joe Maddon said last night after the game that he does not plan to rush the return of Schwarber into the Cubs' defensive lineup. But today, during mandatory practice, Schwarber was seen fielding pop flies. It has not been confirmed whether or not Schwarber will be in the defensive lineup for the rest of the World Series. For reporting for the Rambler Sports Locker outside Wrigley Field, I'm Madeline Kenney.
Stick with RSL for more Chicago Cubs coverage throughout the show. The men's soccer team clashed with Missouri State in a meeting of the top 2 teams in the Missouri Valley Conference. Coming off a victory from Northern Illinois, the men's soccer team continued their streak when they defeated the Missouri Bears, taking a giant step forward in their quest to win the MVC season title. Senior Kevin Engesser opened up the scoring for the Ramblers with a great first touch to set himself free on goal, where he finished with his left foot at the back post. The Ramblers continued to apply pressure as senior midfielder Kirill Likovoid whipped in a cross that was met in the box but headed over the bar. Just moments later, another cross was whipped in, this time coming down the left flank where freshman Aiden McGalley took his chance and nodded it past the keeper. That would be enough for Loyola, as Missouri State could only manage to put in a cross that was easily dealt with by junior goalkeeper Andrew Chekadinoff in the dying moments of the game. After full time, Loyola came away as 2-0 winners thanks to Engesser's 13-minute goal and McGalley's 55th minute goal. The win extends Loyola's unbeaten streak to an astounding 26 games. The win also marks Loyola's second in as many tries over Missouri State. The Ramblers now hold a 6-point edge in the Valley over Missouri State, SIUE, and Evansville.
Freshman defense Marius Coleman was named the Missouri Valley Conference's Defensive Player of the Week earlier this week. This marks his first honor from the Valley. Coleman contributed to a pair of defensive plays as the Ramblers picked up 2 wins. Defensive midfielder Kirill Likovoid has been honored by the College Sports Information Directors of America as an academic all-district selection. Likovoid will advance to the national ballot, and this is the first Rambler to receive this accolade since 2011. This season, Likovoid has started in all 14 games, helping the Loyola defense. They own .49 goals against average, a lead in the Valley. The men's soccer team was originally scheduled to head north to Evanston to take on the Northwestern Wildcats in non-conference play on Wednesday night, but due to inclement weather, the game was canceled and will not be rescheduled. Loyola will return to action this Saturday as they take on SIUE Edwardsville. Game starts at 7 p.m.
The women's soccer team took on the Indiana State Sycamores on October 23rd. Loyola outshot the Sycamores 14-11. However, a 63rd-minute goal from midfielder Maddie Orff gave Indiana State the only goal they would need. Loyola continued to press for an equalizer into the late stages of the game, but ultimately the game ended 1-0 in favor of the Sycamores. The team will need a short memory as a massive game against Drake looms tonight. A win or draw will secure the Ramblers a spot in the 2016 Missouri Valley Conference Women's Soccer Tournament.
Now another month means another 30 days for top Loyola athletes to really shine.
Alfredo Rodriguez is here for his top 5 October athletes.
With so much Halloween spirit in the air, this week's top 5 brings you the top 5 Rambler athletes for the month of October. In place number 5, from women's volleyball, we have sophomore Gabi Majikowski, who posts team-high kills in 4 games this past month, one of them being 21 kills in the Ramblers' victory against Southern Illinois on October 1st. In place number 4, from women's soccer, we have junior forward Katie Grahl, who records 8 shots and 2 assists in the Missouri Valley Conference Tournament. Grahl has been an important piece of the puzzle for the women's soccer team, as she has started in every one of the 5 MVC games the Ramblers have faced. In place number 3, from men's soccer team, we have junior goalkeeper Andrew Shekadanov, who has started in all 6 games the Maroon and Gold have played this month. Shekadanov has kept a clean sheet in 4 of these games and has only received 2 goals in 6 games. He has been unbeaten in the last 247 minutes of Missouri Valley Conference play. In place number 2, from the men's soccer team, we have senior defender Kirill Likhovil, who has started in all 6 games this month and played a key role in the Ramblers' sparkling .33 goals against in the last 6 games, leading the Missouri Valley Conference and ranked 5th overall nationally. Likhovil earned this week the COSEDA Academic All-District Honors. In place number 1, from women's volleyball team, we have senior Morgan Reardon. In 3 Missouri Valley Conference matches this week, Reardon averaged 4.21 kills per set and 3.18 digs per set. In a 4-set victory over Bradley on October 18, the senior outsider hitter pounded out a season high of 23 kills. She followed that up with 22 kills in a 4-set setback at the hands of Indiana State on October 21st. Reardon is one of only 6 players in Loyola history to record 1,300 kills, and she needs 13 more to move into 5th place on the school's all-time chart. This has been the Halloween special Top 5 Countdown. Stay tuned for more Top 5. I'm Alfredo Rodriguez. Back to you at the desk.
The Missouri Valley Conference released both the men's and women's basketball preseason polls earlier this week.
Senior guard Milton Doyle also placed in the polls. The 6'4" Doyle has been named preseason second-team All-Missouri Valley Conference. Having Doyle on the team was a key to the team's success in the 2015-16 season. He is also the leading scorer on the team with 11.2 points per game, 3.7 rebounds, 3.0 assists per contest. As a team overall, Loyola is picked to finish 7th in the annual preseason poll, ranking ahead of Drake, Bradley, and Evansville. Wichita State is pegged to finish 1st. Get a good look at the 12 newcomers on the men's basketball team as they hold a maroon and gold scrimmage tonight in Gentile Arena. Their season opens up when they host Alcorn State on November 11th.
The MVC's preseason poll for the women's basketball team show Loyola as finishing in 10th place. With only 3 returning players and 0 starters from last season's 5th place finish, Loyola is being led by head coach Kate Ochter. Sophomore Brandy Sagars is the leading returning scorer, averaging 2 points a game. Drake captured the most votes to top the poll. Preseason voters have correctly selected the conference's regular season champion 19 times in 33 seasons. Favorites have played in 25 postseasons, including 17 NCAA tournaments and 1 Final Four appearance.
Loyola announced this week they are working with From Now On and the FanX platform to support their new mobile app. The app is called Rambler X, available to download in both the App Store and in Google Play. The app will allow athletics to implement their new new fan engagement strategy featuring exclusive content and game day information.
The women's volleyball team hosted the Indiana State Sycamores on October 21st. The Ramblers set up the ball nicely for outside hitter Morgan Reardon, who puts it away as Loyola storms back after a Sycamore lead. Middle block Quinn Speaker saves the ball low as the Ramblers set it up as Reardon goes in for the kill. Loyola takes the first set. The Sycamores come back hard in the second set, getting the point. They take the second and third set. In the fourth set, a block from Reardon helped push Loyola past a tie, but Indiana State spun off unanswered points that catapulted them to grab the 25-22 victory. The Sycamores win the match 3-1. Reardon tops Loyola with 22 kills. The next day, Loyola found the Redbirds to be a tough opposition, losing all 3 sets. Jalen Keene led the way for ISU, who had 11 kills and improved their record to 7-4 in NBC play. The loss means that the Ramblers fall to 10-14 in the Valley. The team will hit the road for the first time in 3 weeks to play Southern Illinois and Evansville this weekend. The Missouri Valley Conference announced this week that volleyball standout Morgan Reardon has been named the NVC Scholar Athlete of the Week. This is the second time the marketing major has been given this honor. Reardon is one of 6 players in Loyola history to record 1,300 kills. She only needs 13 more to make her way into the list's top 5. Reardon is also a 2-time honorable mention NBC Volleyball Scholar Athlete Team honoree and a member of the NBC Honor Roll. Also last season, she was the recipient of NBC Commissioner's Academic Excellence Award.
The Chicago Cubs made history this past week, defeating the Los Angeles Dodgers to reach the World Series for the first time since 1945.
RSL reporter Nader Issa takes us to the friendly confines to meet a superfan with a special connection to the team.
The Cubs are headed to the World Series for the first time in 71 years. Cubs fans young and old are out to celebrate in Wrigleyville, but one Cubs fan in particular has a special story about how he's now connected to the Cubs and is looking for the one big W.
Goats, black cats, and Bartman. Cubs fans have suffered for far too long. Some have been alive for more than a century without seeing the Cubs win a World Series. Others, not so much. Joe Flaherty, a 2014 Loyola alum, is a die-hard Cubs fan. That's clear just by walking through his apartment a mile and a half away from Wrigley Field. Almost 20 years ago, Flaherty got his first experience in the park.
This is from May of 1998. This is the first game I ever went to. And me and my sister and my dad, we paid a total of, I guess, $33 to get in, which wouldn't even get you within smelling distance of the park these days.
So for a lifelong fan, nothing could be sweeter than the Cubs going to the World Series. Well, other than seeing it firsthand. Flaherty has worked security for the team since 2009. Before the playoffs started, he got some news that he wasn't expecting.
Into the playoffs, they told me, they're like, in the playoffs, MLB mandates we have 2 supervisors down there, so like, congratulations, like you're there.
From there, the Cubs advanced to the Fall Classic for the first time in 71 years. And with the job, there come perks. Joe gets 2 free tickets to every home game, a deal that his dad, John, has taken advantage of.
This family tradition type thing, you know, something that ties everybody together. You know, you can watch it with your grandfather.
But even after decades of waiting, the win came at the right time for Joe and his family. In early 2009, a close family member passed away. So for the Flahertys, the Cubs' success has brought needed relief.
You think of all the people who you could be celebrating that with, and just to know that they're there in a way. It still, like, that part of it hasn't really hit me yet either.
After all he's been through, Joe says he'd have a special message for anyone who could have predicted his current position.
Or to tell the kid who bought the Zambrano jersey that when he was like 10, hey, you'll be out there for the World Series, I would have called you a liar to your face.
With the Cubs in the World Series, it turns out anything can come true. For the Rambler Sports Locker, I'm Nader, Issa.
With a Cubs win for Game 2, the city of Chicago hasn't stopped celebrating. but with big celebrations come big prices.
You know, it's true. I mean, despite all the big bucks, fans are finding ways to celebrate this historic moment in not only Chicago history, but MLB history as well. RSL reporter Madeline Kenney spoke with Loyola students on campus to find out how they are celebrating history being made and how much it might cost them.
Thanks, guys. I talked to a lot of Loyola students who said they were planning to go down to Wrigleyville to watch the World Series. However, not to be the bearer of bad news, that's going to cost you a pretty penny. Tickets as of this morning were going for $1,700. Now, if you don't have the change to go to that, why not go to a bar? Well, you're probably going to have to pay a $100 cover just to get in. That excludes drinks and foods. Now, some places like John Barleycorn are doing an all-inclusive ticket deal where you pay $225 for an entree, appetizer, and an open bar from the start of the game to the bottom of the ninth. Some alternative routes, you could always stay at the classic Bar 63 up in Rogers Park, or you can go more River North style, and there are different places like Jake Melnick's and Streeters who are offering special World Series deals. You can always go down the old-fashioned route too and watch it at a friend's house. The games will be televised on Fox Sports. Reporting in Wrigley, I'm Madeline Kenney. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Madeline. Chicago Cubs and Cleveland Indians fans are no strangers to suffering. Both are relative strangers to October. The two teams find themselves on the brink of ending that long suffering as they square off in the World Series.
Ramble analysts and super fans Nick Schultz and Henry Redmond renew their rivalry in this week's Ramble World Series edition.
Happy Halloween, everyone. Welcome to this week's Ramble. I'm Dylan Conover, and I'm joined today with Nick Schultz and Henry Redmond in a special World Series edition of the Ramble. Now, guys, it's been a long time since either of your teams won. You have to convince me who's going to win. Nick, we'll start with you.
All right, well, I'm saying the Cubs are going to win. I mean, it's a long time coming as it is, but I think we've got the better team. We've got 3 quality starters, plus we've got a 4th to give our starters an extra day, which is a luxury your team doesn't have. So your guys are throwing on 3 days rest every day, which is tough. I pitched in high school. It's tough. We also got good hitters. We've got Bryant. We've got Rizzo, Zobrist, Russell, Baez, Contreras.
We could talk about good players all day, but Henry, what's your team? What does your team have?
Okay, my team's been the underdog every round of the playoffs, but consistently are beating the better teams because the Indians do the little things very well, and they have enough talent, enough grit to just win the game in front of them.
Now, Nick, the last time the Cubs won the World Series, nations still fought wars with swords like mine. So my question to you then is, what makes this year really any more different than like any other year that the Cubs were in contention, including last year?
We have the better defensive team this year. You say your team does the little things right. They did them well last night. 2 errors, including Lindor's little flip behind the back. That led to a run. It led to a run because Kipnis couldn't handle it because he didn't see it coming.
Now, the Indians have announced that they will start Corey Kluber in Game 4, and we all know that Corey Kluber had a very good Game 1, destroyed the Cubs. Now, but when the Dodgers did the same thing with Clayton Kershaw, the Cubs kind of had his number. Are you nervous about that?
Honestly, Terry Francona pulled Kluber before he faced the Cubs a 3rd time. That's when the Cubs start getting to the pitchers when they start facing them that 4th and 5th time. He hasn't done that yet, so he still has enough in the tank to get
even
past.
on 3 days rest.
Even on 3 days rest. In the Toronto series, he pitched on 3 days rest and only gave up 2 runs.
He still lost. He lost on 3 days rest.
He gave up 2 runs. That's a quality start.
What would you guys say is the X factor that is going to push your team over the top?
Honestly, I have 3. You need to score early, you need to score often. You need to beat those starting pitchers before the 6th inning so that you can avoid going to Andrew Miller being down.
There it is. Andrew Miller.
I've got more.
Andrew Miller.
I got more. Hey, let me finish.
Hold on, you said 3. Let's give
I got a 3.
Andrew Miller's slider, Andrew Miller's fastball, and Terry Francona.
What were your other points, Nick?
Don't expand the zone. They were doing that with Kluber. They were swinging out of the strike zone. They were missing. That was leading to strikeouts. You have to swing at strikes. Make the pitchers throw strikes.
On Friday, Josh Tomlin's pitching. The Cubs are overwhelmingly unable to hit a breaking ball. It's their weakness. Josh Tomlin's curveball is one of the best in baseball.
Are you nervous that the Indians are not deep enough at starter? Because they've lost 2 of their starters.
I mean, they can always throw Danny Salazar or Sean Merritt if they need to,
But, I mean, they've had one of the best overall pitching staffs in baseball all year. They can lean on the bullpen. They've shown they can do that.
Now, Nick, my last question to you then. If Kyle Hendricks does not get a win in Game 3, are the Cubs done?
I don't think so, to be honest with you. I think we've got Lackey going on Saturday. If he has an on day, which he's looking like it, at Wrigley, he does better at Wrigley. We can win Game 4. We can easily win Game 5 with Lester going up against Bauer.
Lester got rocked in Game 1.
Yeah, but he's pitching at Wrigley. There is a home field advantage here with our fans. We're loud. We're obnoxious. We're going to get in the other team's head, and we play better at home.
Okay. The Indians just played in Toronto. The Rogers Center is notoriously one of the loudest venues in baseball, and they won in 5 games. The crowd is not going to be a factor.
Adrian Gonzalez said that too, and look what happened.
I mean, Adrian Gonzalez hadn't just beaten the Blue Jays.
We just came off winning the NLCS in Game 6. We've got momentum on our side with this big win. I think we've got a good shot.
We still only lost 2 games in the playoffs.
It doesn't matter.
We could argue all day, but at the end of the day, we're going to have to watch the teams play. And unfortunately, I'm thinking the momentum right now, at least from this ramble, is heading towards Henry. So I'm going to have to crown Henry and knight him Lord of the Ramble.
This is rigged.
Back to you guys at the desk.
This is rigged.
Thanks, Dylan.
For our full episodes and for any Rambler Sports updates, check out our social media handles on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube.
Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Aaron Onion.
And I'm Blake Keller. Check back next week for another episode of the Rambler Sports Locker.
And as always, don't forget to turn off the lights.